Welcome back, everyone, to Steel Division. Well, not exactly to the game, obviously, because it's, not even the beta, but to one weekly update that I'm going to be trying to make on the progress of the game, what we have heard of from it, new images, new stuff. This time we'll be mostly focused on forum stuff from developers and from an additional article that was released from PC Games N. I believe that is the name of that site. Let's get on to it. You'll see quite a few of these badly cut out images of foreign comments. Yeah, I am sorry, couldn't make it better. Would have taken quite a bit of time. Mostly, this is about the 21st Panzer Division. This first slide, they're gonna get a lot of French vehicles, obviously, so it's confirmed that they're gonna get also some Was and Hotchkiss tanks, which is nice. And then they've also confirmed that they're gonna have short-barreled Panzer IVs, B or C models, and that's pretty nice. And also a Pack 43 they're gonna get, so long range anti-tank, nice. So they're gonna be a hodgepodge of various different vehicles and pieces of equipment. And then here's something from the PC Games N article. Like every division in Steel Division, 24th Panzer has a Hasidol, a captured Sherman US Firefly tank. Now, that's not my typo. They actually said US Sherman Firefly tank. I'm guessing they meant UK. And it's interesting when it goes on, because it says, as it is an armor division, we've got lots of slots in armored units and tank units, which makes sense. We've got a maximum of 36, and I'm obviously thinking, is it tanks or cards of tanks? Because if it's cards of tanks, then that means 36 cards, which is going to be, well, a lot of tanks, like 150 something. Depends, because a card of tank would obviously be something like 3 to 5 to 7, depending on the quality of it. And if we're obviously taking the war game model. But if it's only 36 tanks in total for an armor division, I don't think that would be wise. I think they should have a little bit more. That is, unless they're just going to have really high prices. We'll see. However, in the first phase of the battle, we only have 2 slots for armored units. This is the same phase where infantry light divisions excel, and Germany lack decent light tanks to use at this stage of the fight. Enter the captured US Sherman Firefly, which should provide the 21st with a helping hand during Phase A without wasting 2 valuable armor slots that could be essential later on. And this makes no sense, because if you have 36 in total, wouldn't that mean that, well, if you use the 2 in the first phase, whatever, that's gonna be basically the mechanics of it are just confusing. What's interesting is that they're having this medium tank, right, be a Phase A unit, and it says it's not going to be wasting 2 valuable armored slots. So I don't know, maybe it's because it's a captured unit. It does not use slots. I don't know. Depends. We'll see. This is stuff we won't see for sure, because they confirmed it. Armored recovery vehicles like the Berg Tiger or I don't know, any engineering vehicles that are made to recover tanks are not in the game. No Wonder Waffles, which is pretty good. I don't want too many Wonder Waffles. Oh, and then there's also other stuff that I'm going to talk about. No bicycle troops, no horses, which is sad. And here is something about the battalions that I thought about could be attached to units, etc., etc. Here it says, but they are from attached local independent battalions, Tiger, Jagdpanzers, Wolverines. They were all non-divisional assets in real life. And then you can see, obviously we do have a few off-divisional TOE units. I'd be very surprised if creating detachments from army assets wouldn't be possible. And the response was, those have been taken into consideration and added in small numbers to division. So there's going to be no battalion attachments, and there's going to be no, most likely no ad hoc units as general decks, because it says that creating detachments from army assets wouldn't be possible. And the response was that they've been added in small numbers to divisions. So it seems like basically you can only pick divisions, and then those have arbitrarily assigned to them units that were historically nearby from independent battalions. That's what it seems like is going to be the case. That's also kind of supported in a way by that Sherman Firefly. If you remember, there was a Canadian Sherman Firefly from the 2nd Brigade, I think it was, that was attached to the 3rd Infantry Division, despite the fact that the brigade was technically kind of a separate unit. You saw that it was most likely just attached, and so the 3rd Canadian Division would have it. Yep, that seems like more of a confirmation of that. More stuff we won't see. Archer, M18 Hellcat, M36 Jackson, and Jagdtigers. None of them will be in. Okay for Jagdtigers, I don't really mind those. M18 Hellcats, I've seen some people argue that they were in Normandy, and I would definitely like to see them in. But, oh well. And then M36 Jacksons, obviously, later vehicles. No Pershing, obviously, it's in Normandy. Although I'm sad because I like the Pershing, but, you know, gotta be historical in a way. And then, also it says that Sherman 76's Fireflies and Tigers were not mainstream tanks, but they weren't rare either. And then Panthers theoretically accounted for half the tanks of Panzer Division, so they're even more common with those. So essentially, what it's saying right here is that in a way, Panthers are just right under Shermans and Panzer IVs in availability, and that Sherman 76's Fireflies and Tigers are just below that as well. And then it also says that Jumbos are much rarer, so, well, some earlier ones are available at that time, so I'm kind of hoping that Jumbos will be in, although, well, seems unlikely, but it's possible. Then there's another interesting comment that's basically related to this. Best some of them September 1944 that is beyond our scope. So I looked around, and there was one developer comment that said that the timeline was from D-Day to the end of the Falaise Pocket Battle, so there's going to be no liberation of Paris. From D-Day to the end of the Falaise Pocket obviously means 6th of June to 21st of August, which is when the last of the Germans surrender. And then that's basically going to be the scope of the game. I'm not sure if that's going to be expanded on by DLCs, most likely. Here, Axis Miners, nope, none of them. There's going to be basically some Italian volunteers and some coastal divisions. Russian POWs on the German side, so Hilfswillige, or Hiwis as they're called sometimes. So there's going to be, in some divisions, volunteers from, well, quote-unquote volunteers, most likely just conscripts, random people who they picked up from various different nationalities. So Russians we have confirmed, Italians have confirmed. One division made mostly of Romanians, which is weird because I did some research and there doesn't seem to have been a Romanian full division fighting with the Germans, especially in Normandy. Well, obviously in the Eastern Front they had their own divisions, but I do not know what they're talking about here. I have no idea. So if someone knows, please comment and say that, because, and oh, of course, if I'm getting any of this wrong, please just correct me. It's useful. Then there's going to be no Vichy France, which is sad. Obviously, there's going to be Free France, and then they go on to some semantics about what France was called there, and really didn't bother including that. And then what's interesting is that it says, we've got a static division just for you then. And that's going to be sort of coming back to the whole volunteers and some coastal divisions, conscripts, foreign volunteers, whatever. I did some snooping around for some coastal divisions. There's like 3 that are plausible, so I didn't really include any of them in a division speculation in this slide, but yeah, just know that there's a few. Also, very possible that there's going to be Ukrainian battalions in, so having Ukrainian Ostrupen as well is possible, and Georgians also were around the area. Regarding the list already drawn, blah, 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 there's a bunch of stuff. And then you go in and it says, the resistance did not play much of a part in the combat of Normandy, but as guides and scouts. So most likely there aren't going to be any actual French resistance units, unless maybe some of this guides and scouts sort of hints at some recon units, maybe for the French armored division being resistance, but I'm basically 100% certain now that there is going to be no irregular units in the game, which is sad, but also pretty decent for balance, because I think that they wouldn't have been able to balance that in any way. And then it goes on to some length about other stuff. And then it says that it's my understanding that there's going to be as many German divisions as all the Allied divisions together. Indeed, there will. Now, I read somewhere that there's going to be 18 divisions. I'm not sure if that's sort of confirmed by the developers, so I didn't include that. And it's like, wait. Half of them are German. And you gotta sort of take into consideration that there's going to be, okay, so Germans, then there's going to be Polish, French, UK, and US, and Canada. So really, of those, the big two are going to be the UK and US, obviously, and also Canada a little bit. They had like 4 divisions in Normandy, and a couple of them I see them getting in. Definitely the 3rd division is confirmed, and another division is very likely. And if I ever do more stuff about the divisions, I'll talk about that to more extent. But really, the thing is, there's going to be much more variety on the Allied side, it looks like. Much more variety on the Allied side in the entirety of the division pool, right? But for the single different divisions, the fact that 9 of them are going to be German is very interesting, because it's just strange that just one sort of nation is going to be covering so much, right? So we'll have to see. I think that a lot of the divisions that the Germans will have will be pretty either redundant, as in there will just be different copycats of each other, especially the Panzer divisions, or they will be just divisions that are ahistorically powerful, just to have them be balanced in the game. For example, some of the static divisions, they were really bad. Like, maybe this is just a topic for another video, but I don't know. It seems interesting. Also, just something that I threw in there because I didn't have the space for it anywhere else. Medium artillery will be on map. Only the bigger guns will be off-map assets. That's fine to know, so that at least you can do some counter battery on these medium artillery pieces, and it just makes sense for them to be on the map. And obviously, mortars are confirmed to be in the game. Well, not confirmed, but it's very likely. So moving on to the article, there are a few interesting points that are made. I trust that you can read most of this just pausing, and then it goes on and says, then after I will be granted 90 points. It's talking about the battle phases. I will be granted 90 points each minute. In fact, it's 90 points depending on each division. This is essentially saying that every minute you gain 90 points, which if we go to this screenshot, you remember that I was like, okay, what is this? And this is apparently a minute worth of time, which is nice. Yeah, probably could have inferred that from this, because the minute is almost half past, and so having the clock be almost half sort of quartered could have been an indication that that was a full minute, but oh well. And then what's interesting is that this little part says, if I get 90 points depending on each division, the division I'm facing only has 70. I should have probably realized that this 90 over here, that the American guy had beside his division symbol, was exactly this 90, because he's playing the Americans. And so obviously this means your income in the different phases, and the Germans, 70. So he's basically talking to the guy while showing him this, and that's basically what those numbers meant. I was kind of unsure, and that's pretty nice that it's income, because, well, it obviously kind of helps reinforce the idea that some divisions are just going to be faster, getting into battlefield faster, and some of them will have a little bit of a heavier punch in the later stages, which, again, it could be a nice sort of balancing tool that they can employ. The more balancing tools they have, the better, because, you don't want anything to be too lopsided. And then it says they have one particular variety of RTS games deal with units being destroyed, health bars, 2 infantry units fighting it out, blah, 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 blah. That's not how war happens in the real world. In the real world, yeah, that's kind of accurate. You don't have health bars in the real world. But what's interesting is that it goes on to say, first thing, you have to prevent the enemy from shooting on you by shooting them a lot, aka suppressing them. Second thing, you destroy it. What we wanted was to prevent was to have health bars and stuff like that. Absolutely not realistic. And that's very strange, because all of Eugen's RTS games have had HP bars played Ruse, Wargame, and I'm guessing Act of Aggression as well, although I sincerely doubt Act of Aggression will have any influence on this game. Both of those games have health bars. Ruse hides them, but they're there. It's like obvious. And what's interesting is that pretty much all of the evidence we have indicates that there's going to be health bars in this game anyway. Now, obviously, this is the only actual in-game sort of screenshot with a HUD that we have, and it's selecting a unit that's off map. So we don't really know whether or not there are health bars in the game, but it's very likely that they either will be there or will be there just hidden. Either there will be a lot of there will be, just like in Wargame, some HP pips around that show you the condition of the unit, and they're kind of just moving around the topic of a bar, and there will just be the little squares, right, representing the points, and so they can call it a health barless system, although it would have a health bar anyway. Or there's just a different system. I do not know. Maybe units just give one shot. That would be interesting to see. I don't think that would be necessarily more realistic, but again, I don't have the screenshot over here. But if you remember that M10 in the last video I did, that thing did not look like it was getting destroyed in one hit. So I'm calling bullshit on that. Yeah, I don't think that I think that was just talk, and there's probably health bars in the game. What it's trying to obviously sort of highlight is how important it's going to be to sort of act on the psychology of units, right? With flanking maneuvers, artillery fire suppression, various different things just to scare them off, or in general suppress them, and then move in with your sort of flanking forces, sort of winning through concentration of firepower and tactics, instead of just, oh, I have my units there and they'll just shoot at anything that moves and they will destroy them. So essentially, just I think they're gonna be sort of encouraging dynamic play with this kind of mechanic, which is nice, and it's good. It's a good idea, because you need more strategy games where these things are sort of worked out in a dynamic way, not a static way. And I think that's gonna be it for this week. I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you've enjoyed so far my Steel Division stuff. Stay tuned in for more. Subscribe if you haven't, and if you care, obviously. And I'll see you soon. Okay, I lied. There were some more screenshots released while the video was uploading, and also they announced that there was going to be a beta, VIP beta, that of course I did not get in, because when I looked at the announcement, when I saw that, it was already over. Like, basically the announcement was announced that, like, I don't know, something, but the beta registration was open only from 5:30 p.m. and I saw it at 6 p.m. and all the keys were already gone. So no beta for me. Guess I'm gonna have to wait for a release date like everyone else. And yes, right now we're looking at some screenshots from a French article. I didn't really read the article because I would have to do so with a dictionary, so that would be quite annoying. I might do it in these few days. I'm gonna be away, so this is my last thing that I'm recording, and then I'll just be leaving you with this. There's some stuff that's interesting about these screenshots. First off, we see that this bomber, this guy's playing clearly the French Armor Division, the 2nd, and he's facing the 12th Panzer, obviously commanded by the AI. And we can see that, for example, in this one, there's still a lot of time remaining, right? So we know that at least the time, sort of time settings can be exchanged around. The other game was 30 minutes that had the screenshots, so time is not sort of fixed. You can see still the minimap is basically the same, speed slow, all this stuff we've already seen. And as you can see, also the point discrepancy is 1 to 0, so it's a little less than the 2-1 that we saw earlier. We see that the bombing run is very, very effective, pretty sort of straight, pretty accurate it would seem, and also very, I guess, spacious. I wonder exactly how much. It looks like it also destroyed some kind of vehicle or whatever, and it looks like in general it's going to be fairly effective at dealing with enemy infantry and maybe clearing out terrain as well. He's selecting a 57mm anti-tank gun. Obviously, the French are going to use that. And there's a couple of buttons that we didn't see before, but there's just a little bit too small of a resolution in the picture to actually see what they are. You can see that it's still got that sort of dot that I was so, I don't know, just puzzled about. It could still be HE damage or it could be AP damage. I do not know. Both are possible. And you can see that the off-map units, he's got a plane that's evacuating. It says falling back. Looks like it got hit by some kind of anti-aircraft gun. I do not know. There's also a icon above it that's probably some kind of the icon for the evacuation. Instead of having just evac Winchester, it's going to have that evacuation icon. And then there's also a icon over here which might be representing an explosion, aka it's dropping its bombs. Obviously that means that it's a bomber. And that icon might mean that it's out of ammo. That bullet you can see just barely. Not quite sure, but who knows. And obviously these aircraft are DB-7Bs, which I believe look to be Liberators, although I might be getting this horribly wrong, not too actually familiar with military aircraft. And also Spitfire Mark 9, so the French will have access to Spitfires. Then we see a unit routing, or perhaps surrendering. They do have white flags over them. They might be surrendering. This person is playing, looks like the 101st Airborne, and he's got an M22 Locust, which I now identify correctly. That last time I misidentified it as a Locust. You can see that there's an artillery piece, so again, medium artillery is on the map. This looks like a 75mm Pat howitzer, and this little icon is probably telling us that it's doing a area barrage of some kind. And it's got an 8 around it as well, so again, should be really anything. I doubt that it's the same HE damage, though, as the 37mm of this Locust, actually. So it might be AP damage, or it might be who knows what else, just any other kind of unit. And then there's also the 6 under it, which is the same 6 as we see under this Pathfinder unit. You can see that these Pathfinders are taking cover, it looks like, near these buildings, but not exactly in the building. Who knows? Yeah, really, who knows how the cover will play out. And they've also got a pair of binoculars around them, which means that they probably have some kind of extra recon capabilities. And then they also have this other icon up here, which might mean that they have anti-armor or heat rounds, because it looks like it's on the grenades, right? This is the weapon slot sort of screen. So there's 4 weapon slots instead of 3, which is nice. There's a fire position button, which is really nice. And then there's still these 2 buttons that we saw earlier on that anti-tank gun. It looks like this one is retreat, actually. And that other one, I have no idea what this could be. This looks like some kind of guard mode or stop button or take cover. Yeah, maybe take cover, and this one is stop, so normal stuff. You can see that this guy has 2 levels of experience. So we knew that that was in the game already. And again, some kind of light cover applied to the squad. And I think that this little icon kind of says that it's a heat grenade, because it looks like this grenade is not a pineapple grenade. It looks like it's some kind of anti-tank weapon. You can see that the squad also has, looks like, M1 Garands, M1 Carbines, and Thompsons, all of them with a lot of rounds. And they've also got these little thingies, and they're blue. So I wonder if blue actually means that it's not HE damage, and yellow means that it's HE damage. Who knows? Like, this is just very confusing. There's a couple of 1s near the rifles and a 6 near the Thompson. So it really could be anything. Or it might just be... Oh, no. Nah, that's not it. Who knows? Going ahead, we see a screen of the deck selection, actually, which is nice. He's playing the 2nd Armored Division, you can see. So he's got a few points redistributed, and it looks like the image of the commander is also included. And sorry for the low quality picture, that was the only one I could find. This screenshot tells us a few things about how the phases are going to play out, which is nice, because as you can see, these early cards of M10s, he's in the anti-tank tab right now. So he's got, in the anti-tank tag, he's got M10s, Fusil d'air marine, Canon 57mm, so 57mm anti-tank gun, And these M10s and Marines and anti-tank guns, they oh sorry, I was trying to scroll down the thing. I'm sorry, that was actually really bad on my part. These guys all have different availabilities, uh, basically because there's an A card for them, a B card for them, and a C card for them. For the M10s, there's an A, a B, and a C. And in the A card, you get 2. In the B card, you get 4. And in the C card, you get 6. So that's why that article was saying, so that you don't waste valuable armored slots for later on, because you can see over here that there's just 5 slots for anti-tank in total. So if I take 5 A category units, then I'm not going to have any for the bigger cards that I can get later on of 6 M10s, which is the reason why that was the case. And before I had that, I had this sort of screenshot, I did not really realize what was going on. It's interesting that these Fusiliers Marines are also in the anti-tank tab, and they also have this sort of the same icon that the Pathfinders had earlier. So again, this might mean it's some kind of anti-tank grenade. And there's still this 13 on the top right, which I do not know what it is. It's got this 13 and it's yellow and it's confusing. But yes, we also see that there's a lot of tabs. 36 activation. Now, I think that in this game, instead of having activation points like in Wargame where basically you just start and your first thing costs 1, and the second card costs 2, and the third card costs, I don't know, 3 or 4, and then so on and so on, and then the fifth one costs, I don't know, 4. I don't remember exactly how much the last one cost. Maybe some even cost like 5. Looks like it's going to be 1 card, 1 point always, because there's a lot more tabs actually. Well, maybe not a lot more, but a few more. For example, they split support and artillery. It's interesting because support might be whatever. Like, it could be logistical units because there's no logistics tab. So I think that's going to be the logistical tab. Then anti-air, I'm guessing it's going to be a smaller tab than in Wargame. Again, anti-air split from support. Artillery is its own thing. So again, a pretty small tab most likely. Aircraft might be smaller than Wargame. Tanks, infantry, and recon are probably going to be the biggest ones that people are going to spend their points on, along with anti-tank for most decks, especially something like an armored deck. Probably a lot of tanks are going to be in there, and you can get 36 of these. So again, another reason why there was the fact that you getting a card for an A phase unit was wasting. And then there's also the fact that, hold on, what was I going to talk about? I don't know. Right. I thought I had something to say, but it looks like I didn't. So going on, last screenshot. You can see that there's some more off-map units in mission, refueling, all these things. Just normal stuff. There's some kind of bomber in the distance. Looks like also doing a bombing run of some kind. And it's still the 2nd Armored Division versus the 12th Panzer. And here you can see that he's got selected an M8, which is over here. And he's also got a squad of troops in this house. Now, some people have said that this might be a machine gunner squad. It does have 2 pips of experience belonging to it, so it might really be anything. It might be those Fusiliers Marines that we saw here. Although this C card has an experience star, so I'm guessing it's not this B card and it's not this C card, unless it was a unit that came from the C card that then gained experience. So it's also interesting that you can have infantry units in the B phase coming in, and the bonus for getting them later is going to be experience instead of more units, because as you can see, these Fusiliers Marines have 4 availability, so you get 4 squads of them, and then in the C card you get 4 of them still. It's also interesting that you can see a bit of the pricing. The Fusiliers are 45, and it looks like they have some kind of armored transport as well. Looks like they're coming in some kind of car. We can't see any cars around here that are bringing them in, but who knows. And then what's also interesting is the fact that the AT guns are towed. There's a half track that's bringing them into the battlefield. The AT guns are going to be 80 points, and the M10's 120. So really, the 150 that you get per minute is not a lot. So you're not going to be really seeing unit spam in this game. So one strategy that might be very viable if you're going to be really good at controlling your units in the A phase, and if you're going to have some perhaps really elite units in the A phase, is just to save up points for later, because points are going to be incredibly valuable. That is, unless you're going to be playing very high income games, whether or not that setting exists, we don't really know yet. And then you can see that in this M8 that he's using, interestingly enough, there's one number 7 and one number 4 for the M8's gun, right? So this is another sort of thing that kind of suggests that this one is an HE and this one is an AP, because it would make sense that the M8 would have more HE damage than AP damage. Really, the AP of that little, I believe it's the 37mm, isn't all that good. I believe it's the same as the Stuart's gun. I'm not sure. Depends. Don't remember. Yeah, it might be the AP and HE, also because they have two different ammo counters, although if that was the case, then why would the AP ammo be so much more than the HE one? Who knows? Then there's a machine gun, and there's another machine gun, so that's one of those is probably a coaxial machine gun, and another one of those is the pintle-mounted machine gun. Probably the 50 cal over here is the pintle-mounted, and this 30 cal is the coaxial, although I can't exactly remember. And you can see that both of them have tons of rounds available to them. And the unit is calm, even though it's getting fired at. It's getting fired at what looks like some kind of half-track, although it's actually an unknown half-track. So what's nice is that it looks like the UI is going to tell you exactly what unit it is. So instead of having the unit name crowding up the screen, which, to be fair, I preferred because, well, I'm not really going to be that good at the start at identifying all these units, but who knows. It immediately just tells you the unit by the icon, but if you haven't exactly spotted which unit it is, it's going to have a sort of generic icon for the unit type, so it's a half-track, so you know it's some kind of half-track, but it might be one of these gun-carrying half-tracks, or it might just be an infantry half-track, and it's just telling you that it's some kind of half-track, and it's got the sort of sign there. You can see that it also tells you experience right off the bat. You don't have to click on the unit, which is a very welcome addition, more akin to something like Company of Heroes than Wargame, which is nice. And it might also tell you, this again might be the level of stress of the unit, so it might also tell you this. The anti-tank gun over here is still doing its thing, and again, M8. This one is sitting still and has binoculars. It might have the binoculars for telling you that it's an excellent recon unit because it's standing still, or because it has 2 levels of experience. So maybe both standing still will give you more line of sight, which would make sense, or experience will obviously give you more line of sight on your recon units. And that's, I think, about it for these screenshots. They could also, these guys are in the building and it's glowing blue, so it clearly these guys are not in this house or this shed, whatever, little country building, which is nice. And I think, yeah, that's gonna be about it. Tell me if I've missed anything in the comments. If you have any input, as always, I'm open to anything. So I'll see you then. Oh, actually, hold on. Why is there a veterancy icon over here? I don't know. This definitely looks like a reverse button, which is welcome. And this one is really the one that's puzzling me. This veterancy. I wonder what that is. Might be fast move, actually. Yeah, because this one is a vehicle, and these ones are infantry. So having infantry would obviously mean that, yeah. This one is an anti-tank gun, this one is infantry, so they can't fast move. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So I want to thank y'all for watching. Hope you've enjoyed. If you've enjoyed so far. Also, wow, there's actually no hit points here on this M8. Okay, this time I'm really done. Hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you soon.